What happened in the previous chapter was that while Mash was celebrating with Abel and Abyss spoke to Mash about Abel's connection to Innocent Zero. It was explained here that Abel's third line is artificial, and Abel borrowed it to use it to create a world where all people live peacefully. After that, an owl suddenly entered their room carrying a letter. When Mash opened it, it turned out that Mash had been summoned to the Bureau of Magic because news had arrived there that Mash really had no magic. There, Mash was put on trial by the vice president of the Bureau, Bless Minister. While the two were talking, Ryo Grants, the Magic Security Forces captain and also a divine visionary, arrived. He tested Mash there to see if his case should be dismissed. He had Mash light a candle without touching it, and soon Mash was able to do it by rubbing the wand on the floor. After that, the other divine visionaries suddenly arrived because they were also called in to handle Mash. What's up, Onii-Chan? Welcome back to our manga recap series about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, a story that's a mix of Harry Potter and One Punch Man. So, let's start the video. As the thrilling story of Mash in a world full of magic continues, we return to the Bureau of Magic where he overcame Ryo's challenge. Mash stated there that it looked like they were going to end the trial. Bless shouted and said that the decision was not in Mash's hands. Suddenly, sand started to coil around Mash's feet. Before long, another attack followed, engulfing Mash. Bless was puzzled there, and Ryo recognized who did it. It turned out that Mash was fine, and he asked what was happening. Suddenly, the other divine visionaries arrived and said that Mash must have thought his trial was over. Someone wondered why the divine visionaries were there. The immortal Cain, Renatus Revel, answered that Wahlberg had summoned them there. The Ice Cain, Sarara Hailstone, suggested they should just hit him with a book to get it over with. The noisy Flame Cain, called Dogahena, was also introduced. The quiet divine visionary was the Dragon Cain, Ajit Iron. The Knowledge Cain, Sofina Babila, stated that according to regulations, she believed that being lenient was the smartest way. And finally, the Desert Cain, or Termato, said that regulations were intended to remind people of different perspectives in their lives. If they allowed exceptions, the system would break down. Moreover, surrendering to their emotions as compatriots in the kingdom would set a bad example. This would suggest that special circumstances were recognized. Not only did Mash hide his inability to use magic, but he also enrolled in Easton Academy. And because of that, death was the most appropriate punishment for Mash. In those moments, our hero was shocked and depressed. If it could be of any comfort to Mash, the decision was unanimous. Suddenly, Bless approached and said that this was not acceptable. He started to shake and seemed to lose control of himself. The divine visionaries and Mash turned their attention to him. He started speaking as if he was possessed, and before long, he said, "We are Innocent Zero." Mash and the divine visionaries became serious. Innocent Zero stated that they owned Mash, so they shouldn't touch him. The divine visionaries were surprised because Innocent Zero was involved and Mash's origin indeed seemed extraordinary. Mash declared that no one owned him except himself. Revel asked whether Mash thought anyone still cared about that. Innocent Zero was serious, and as proof, they had implanted a magi parasite in Bless. Onii-Chan was surprised and Mash asked who this was. Then, it was explained what a magi parasite was. The magi parasite is a very delicate magical creature that consumes mana while using its host as a chrysalis while it is in its larval stage. And if it is removed, it will attach itself to whoever removed it from the initial host. They would consider that as a statement of intent towards them. They claimed ownership of that world. Ryo then commented, asking if they were declaring war against the Bureau because of this, and if they were itching to end their long-standing feud. If so, he would be the one to remove the magi parasite. Neri stated how risky that would be. The stronger the magic user the magi parasite attaches to, the greater the danger. If the parasite gets him, he would be crystallized immediately. Ryo asked who else should do it as Mash approached. Suddenly, Mash pulled out the magi parasite as if it were nothing. Because of this, Ryo was shocked. The parasite then injured Mash. Ryo was taken aback while Mash was choking. Nevertheless, Mash vomited out the parasite. It ended up looking like a balloon animal dog. Neri was stunned by what Mash had done. Others yelled out, asking what had just happened. Indeed, the parasite had entered Mash's mouth, so they realized that Mash had tied it inside his mouth like a cherry stem. Mash agreed, saying he tied it using his tongue. They commented on how ridiculous that was. Neri was trembling and realized that Mash couldn't kill the parasite, so he used his tongue to immobilize it. Mash then stated that they had heard the enemy's speech and saved Bless, so it seems like they were done there. Ryo commented that Mash was a treasure. Order insisted they weren't finished yet because they still had to deal with Mash. He said that the rules are the rules, and those without magic had no say. That's just how their world works. Mash's death sentence would proceed, but Mash objected. At this, Orter could only stare. Mash planted himself firmly on the floor, stating he wouldn't go with them. It seemed they might not be able to remove Mash from there due to what he'd done. Orter asked if Mash was a child and if he thought being stubborn would work there. Mash simply repeated that he wouldn't go with them. In an instant, the man disappeared and reappeared behind Mash. He created a sharp object from his hand and aimed to stab it into Mash's ear. Just as he was about to do it, Ryo suddenly shouted for him to wait and stopped him. Order had said that the decision was unanimous, but he hadn't heard what he had to say yet, so did he want to listen first. He intensely stared at Order. Suddenly, a large sword fell between Mash and Order. Mash recognized that sword. As they walked in, the visionaries turned to look. It turned out to be Wahlberg and Rain, and Wahlberg pleaded if the visionaries could change their sentencing. He added that the sending of a messenger by Innocent Zero was new to them. There was a greater chance that Mash could provide a lead to find them. They couldn't afford to lose Mash at that point. The visionaries just stared. Mash then asked if the headmaster was an important person. Ryo had a poker face in response to that question. He explained that Wahlberg was a former divine visionary. During his youth, he was the only person capable of standing against Innocent Zero. He was a living legend. That's why, even though Ryo was close to becoming the top magic user in the world, Wahlberg still had his respect. Wahlberg was a real man among magic users. He told Mash that when Wahlberg speaks, Mash should listen, and Mash agreed. Orter said he understood Wahlberg's position, but he didn't accept it. Regulations dictate such treatment, and they are not open for individual interpretation. It is necessary to maintain order, and black magic should be eliminated. That's just how it is. Wahlberg suddenly removed his hat, which made Ryo wonder. He bowed in front of the visionaries, causing them to be surprised. Sophina immediately said that there was no need for Wahlberg to bow to them. Wahlberg then explained that while it was true that Mash couldn't use magic, wasn't refined, and wasn't a scholar, but he had a unique power, the power to convince people's hearts. Their worldview needed change, and he believed that people like Mash were needed to make that change. And that wasn't all he expected. Even now, those without magic are considered as a lower class of beings. But he was troubled by that issue because it didn't seem fair to him. Their values change with history, and redefining those values requires courage because they have to admit their injustice. And now that he said it, what's wrong remains wrong. As Order was responding that he respects Wahlberg but that it really isn't possible, Finn also knelt and pleaded. He agreed with the headmaster and explained that in his opinion, Mash has proven that he deserves their trust. Caldo said that he was sure Rain had good intentions, but opinions do not change the rules. Revel said that debating is boring and they should just finish Mash off. Sophina mentioned that Rain has already expressed his views clearly, but the public won't accept the exception. Orter stated that there is nothing left to discuss. They will execute Mash. They all put emotions before rational thoughts. Blessed spoke, saying they feel the same way about killing those without magic. Their power is a special blessing from God, and those without it are designed to be separated. They do not meet the standards they set for humanity. However, one of those magicless people saved his life. He knew he should act based on the rules. If he fails in his duties, so be it. But that case is for him to handle. So, he was asking for reprieve for Mash. They can punish Bless if they want, but his judgment will not change. After that, Wahlberg and the Divine Visionaries exchanged glances. Orter said that they will follow this under the conditions that they need to observe all of Mash's movements as a tool against Innocent Zero. And Mash needs to prove his strength by becoming the Divine Visionary candidate for that year. And if he fails to reach that, Mash will die. Mash understood that. But if he wants to embody the headmaster's wish and live peacefully with everyone, Orter's desire won't be enough. He then punched the ground, causing a very strong earthquake. Mash declared that because of this, he would brutally beat up Innocent Gyro with his fists. Elsewhere, it seemed the leader of Innocent Zero felt Mashle's threat. And that's where this video ends. What do you think is Mashle's connection with Innocent Zero? Can he achieve being a divine visionary? Write your comments down below. If you want more anime and manga recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with new videos.